Good morning, REC Nation. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Brunch with REC. And it's especially a good Sunday for me because starting today, I am on vacation. I've taken a week off and I'm looking forward to spending the time with the family, with my kids, with my wife, and we're having a staycation. So I am looking forward to that. But I wanted to make sure I ended the work week and work off with a bang, which is why I'm excited that we are recording this Brunch with REC right now. So happy Sunday, everybody. Hopefully you have your coffees ready, your brunch is ready. We have an exciting conversation going on today. What I do during my sessions, the Brunch with RECs, I go into the micro of the everyday investor. And my segment is called Real Stories from Real Investors. If anyone hasn't tuned in the past, all of our recordings are on YouTube. So you can go back, you can watch them. And it's always good to kind of dive deep into both my conversation with our REC insiders, as well as Jazz and Simeon, who they go into more of the macro. They forecast the market. They talk about current trends that they're noticing. As well, they have service providers on just to give more of a high level idea of what investors should be looking at right now in real estate. And I go into the micro, which creates a pretty good overall picture of what you need to know to stay informed in this market right now, or to make better decisions anyways. Today, we have a fantastic investor joining us. His name is Mitch Parmasar. And Nick, if you don't mind just bringing Mitch on. Mitch is an REC insider. He is known by many. I'm sure even some who are watching this live already know Mitch because he has helped so many investors in the past find the right opportunities for them. And he's also part of the Keyspire family. So Mitch, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. It's my absolute pleasure to be here. And I'll just share with you, as you know, I also do the Pineapple podcast and the Pineapple Chit Chat.
Yep.
And that Pineapple was actually born with working with you guys with the media group.
Yeah.
So it's just over a year now. So I'm really happy to be back here to chat again with you guys. I think that it's amazing to know that, we really and truly are a family. We do different things, but basically we're helping people grow their real estate life and their future at the same time growing our own. But it's full circle. It's always good to come back home, as they say, and chat with the REC crew. I love everybody there. I the first interview I did with Laura as well. So today
Oh
I have
yeah.
the privilege
Hey.
to work with you, my friend.
And we'll make sure to have Nick and the media team send you over the recording so you can use it as well. In regards to your podcast, I have two questions there because I'd love to see the systems behind how content is created and how podcasts are created. Um, First and foremost, what is the podcast about for anyone who doesn't know?
Okay, that's a good question. So the Pineapple Podcast, the theme of the podcast, it's all about being tough on the outside, sweet on the inside, and wearing your crown of gratitude proudly.
Love it.
and
And yeah.
and the
Oh, sorry.
people that the guests that we invite, it's really about everyday people doing extraordinary things in their real estate journey. So
Amazing.
we really capture people that are really making a difference, but at one point in time they had no clue what they were doing. They just knew they wanted something better. And then when they got involved, either through the Keyspire network, through the REC network, or even some of the work that I do on my own, personally as well, they've come to realize that, hey, you know what? This is actually an amazing space that they love, and they can flow with it, right? And they've been able to accomplish great things. So love sharing those stories, love getting people together. We also get together once a month. It's every second Wednesday of the month, 8 p.m. And it's a pineapple chit chat. So we have different guests come on and we'll chat about different topics. And it's a place for people to interact as well, to ask questions and to even share deals or practicing their pitch if they're going to be, working with other people and they want to present. So lots of things going on that front as well, my friend Tyler.
Uh, uh, um, and where can people join you in regards to the Pineapple Chit Chat?
Actually, with the chit chat, they can either register on our website, uh, svinvestment.com, or they can connect with me on the Facebook site as well, because we live stream it there. Plus, we run it in a
Amazing.
Zoom room. Yeah.
Perfect. So what we'll do, because I know Nick is manning the ones and twos, and thank you for that, Nick. He'll put in that sv-investment.com, and that's where anybody who's listening today or on the recording can connect with Mitch, and we'll talk about that at the end, anyways, as well. My second question in regards to the podcast, now that you've done it for over a year, was there somebody that you've had on there that you really were amazed by with their story or what they were able to do in a short amount of time? Like what's like someone that comes into mind, or a story, anyways?
Oh my goodness. When you get in there, there's so much information. Like we've had Dan Heon is one of the brokers
Oh,
who's
nice.
actually an investor as well.
Yeah.
His story is quite unique. Laurie Mae Peroff out of Alberta came in as a regular young lady, and she's transformed her real estate space. Um, you know, uh, we had we just actually released Ms. Cohan's video, and she's a lawyer in the USA, in Florida, and she actually provides full service for investors from Canada that wants to get into the US market. So lots of exciting things in there, and even people that are coming in. The BV and Co guys, they've shared their story about how they didn't even know where to begin, and today they're killing it, right?
Yeah.
The
And
Dijons, they same story. They came into the space wanting real estate and not knowing exactly how they're going to do it. A few years later, they're doing amazing deals and they're adding value to the community. So tons and
yeah,
tons of opportunities here.
I, I always find, and it goes from a lot of investors now that have built that foundation in their portfolio, and diversified in different types of opportunities. I think even if you go back, and I've had Ray and Joanna on this segment before as well, and it was kind of the same, which is, I don't think, even if you plan it the best, you don't really see, where your foundation or your investments are going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. But the one thing I think that everyone has in common is that they did take action. And it's especially, I find, the first or second investment, when we work with REC insiders, those ones are always the ones that, even me, when I got into investing, right, your stomach turns a little bit and you feel a little bit uneasy. But I think it's only natural. You're taking a leap, and when you make a change in your life, naturally you should feel a little bit uneasy because you're making a big decision. And I find that is felt through a lot of investors who have some really big pieces in their portfolio. So Mitch, in regards to our conversation today, I want to go into the real stories from Mitch Parmasar, and I want to go into the beginning, the middle, and the current stages of your real estate portfolio. And I always ask this question before I go into what your first property was, which is, why was it that you wanted to get into real estate investing?
You know what, Tyler? That is a great question. I'm an accidental investor, and why I say that is because I knew there was something behind it. My wife and I, we both worked this space together in terms of investing, but we started probably 20, 21 years ago, when there was no things like Keyspire or REC or groups that you can truly connect with. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
no, that's okay.
And so the idea is, or was, that we knew we wanted something more. Now, just to go back, before we actually got our first property, we were renters, right? So we bought a pre-construction. As you could appreciate, pre-construction takes a year, 2 years to get delivered. So during that time, it was save every penny you can save to put the down payment, right?
Yeah,
And then we got the property. Now, looking back, The property at the time, and I'll share this with you, was around $223,000. Today, that's just a down payment.
Yeah.
This was a detached home on a 40-foot lot, 1,850 square feet, beautiful brick building. Um, you
Where
know,
was it?
this is in Brampton,
Oh.
Ontario. And
Uh,
so,
Listen, you can't even go to Nova Scotia anymore for that price.
that's right. And the thing is, though, we felt all the nervousness, we felt all the
Oh,
anxiety, we
yeah.
felt everything like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to come up with the money? And we actually didn't buy the biggest house in the from the builder simply because it was about $50,000 difference. Uh, Going back, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Mm,
But this
yeah.
is our beginning journey. So we got the property, we loved it, we worked on it, and then as the family grew, we had our daughter, then our son came a couple of years later, and we decided we wanted to upgrade the property, get an even bigger property. And again, as fortune would have it, we bought a pre-construction again, so we had time to think about what we're going to do, and we decided, you know what, we are going to keep this thing. We
Okay.
have no idea how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. So we said, why don't we do it the right way? So we got an agent, those billboard agents, they're all over on the popular sites. Got
Yep.
them. They were supposed to get us the great tenants that we could then proceed to own this property, and everything would just be perfect. Then it turns out they got us the tenants from hell.
For
Hell of an experience.
your first set of tenants.
First set of tenants.
Oh. And
It was.
and
Go ahead.
and if you and now that you do have experience in screening prospective tenants and asking the right questions, did you at that time kind of let that group just kind of control everything in regards to who to actually place and just kind of trusted what their qualifications were?
But that's the whole thing. They were the experts, right?
Hmm.
So me going to them and finding the popular ones, it's almost like I expect a certain level of integrity in the work that they did, but all they did was just place a tenant and they did not do the right screening. Now, that also benefited me tremendously. Why is that? Because after the frustrations and the headaches and going to the tribunal and dealing with a multitude of police calls from the neighbors and the fights and what have you, and then finally getting them out of that laid the foundation for me to deal with anything else after the fact.
Yeah.
So that does two things, right? It does two things. It's either, look, I'm in and I'm going for it because I know I want this, or I'm out. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
touching this again, right? And this is the fear a lot of people have because they just don't know what they don't know. But you got to take action. And we were in it already. Looking back, what has that done for us? Well, that opened up more doors because that one property got us into a second property, that got us into the third property, that got us into another investment property, because we just kept going to the bank and refinancing. And
Yeah.
back then it was a much simpler process to get your refinancing done than what it is today. So, if you wanted to, back then, if you wanted to grow, man, you could really push the needle on that because every property gives you equity. So that's why you can keep expanding and expanding and expanding. The
Hmm.
philosophy remains the same today. The more property you have, the more you can expand. The challenge people have today is that it's not as easy. You have to go through the approval process. You have to
Yeah.
give the banks and the lenders everything. They know you better than you know yourself sometimes. But does real estate pay? Absolutely. If you look at your registered funds, if you look at your RESPs, if you look at your savings in the bank, your stock market, most people leave it to the experts to help them. The experts do what they can do based on the market dynamics and conditions, which they do not control.
Hmm.
So your money goes up, it comes down. Now, have people made fortune in the stock market area? Absolutely. But it's a game you got to know. In the real estate space, with stock market, literally overnight you can make a fortune and overnight you could lose it all. In real estate, if the market goes down, You can live in the house, you can rent the house. Really and truly, it's a viable, touchable product that you have that you can keep. And that's what I liked about it is there is a level of security despite how the market behaves. I can
Yeah.
still generate rent out of that property. I can
Eh,
still sell the property, even if it's a discounted price. I can recover something, which is amazing.
eh,
And that's why real estate over time really makes the difference because with all the ups and downs you get, it generally keeps going up.
Yeah.
And we say, well, Canada is overpriced, and people are talking about getting into the US market, right? Which is fine, it's perfectly fine. But then when you look at the global markets, you'll realize Canada still has room to grow. So if you're a Canadian investor, you still have opportunities here that can make you a fortune, can build your wealth over the long term so that you can add generational wealth. And if you go to the US, it's right there, it's reachable. So there's no
Yeah.
limitations, right? It's just a matter of finding the right people and structure that can get you there.
Yeah.
And
And you said a few good things, right? And I think first and foremost that it's, as Jazz always says, it's time in the market and not timing the market.
that's it.
Because you get more than just passive appreciation on your traditional investment, cash flow, passive appreciation, but also that principal pay down. And even in down markets, if you have the ability to hold, and even now, anyone who's bought in, if you actually look at it, if anyone who's bought in mid to late 2020 and earlier, they're still up 10% in 7 to 10% in appreciation minimum. And that is, it's time in the market. And also, if you're holding it and your tenants are paying the majority of your expenses, you're still getting that principal recapture as well. So that's good.
100%. I mean, Tyler, you're saying some really interesting things here for sure because you got to remember that the situation we're in is government induced or forced into the economy because they're controlling inflation. They
Hmm.
were not targeting housing specifically. Now, they do have this rule that's coming out that people are registering for, which is the occupancy and the foreign buyers and so on, like that. But in reality, a government induced a recession does not solve the marketing dynamics that was propelling the business before. What do I mean by
Yeah.
that? At the end of the day, there's a housing shortage across North America, especially Canada. We can't build fast enough. The city still has a tremendous amount of paperwork and delays when you're working with the building department that just delays everything. And
Hmm.
so you just can't get enough housing. What happens when the government says, okay, let's kickstart the economy again? We've gotten inflation to where it is. It probably took them a year or two. And the economy, they can't shut down the economy. You're going to break everybody and everything. So they
Yeah.
have to monitor this carefully. They have to kickstart the economy at some point in time, which means they have to reduce rates again. In a reduced rate market, you have the investors, you have consumers as well that can now get into the market. What the government has essentially done, and not only did they slow down the sale transaction of the market, they've made it a buyer's market as well. Because now you can, you can pick and choose the deals you want, you can make the offers that you think there is. You've also forced a tremendous amount of people to go from wanting to own property to becoming renters. So
Yeah.
you always hear the term renters nation. It's because now it's just not affordable anymore. So it means as a
Hmm.
landlord, guess what? Every time your tenants turn over, you can go to market, which would be significantly higher. And you need it because let's face it, the mortgage rates are higher, property taxes have gone up, utilities have gone up. And so this is a business that you're running, right? So running a business in real estate is very interesting, first of all, because you have so many regulations that you got to navigate. But at the same time, too, people are able to amass and build a fortune because that renter's money is helping pay for that property, right?
Hmm.
And think about the power of that. You may come up with a down payment, or you may use friends and family to get that down payment. But then that renter is getting a place to live. They call it home, and that fund is going to pay down that property over time, and you benefit from that just by
Correct.
owning it. So You're not dependent on your salary to pay that. You do have to have a little bit of contingency, obviously. But the beauty is, my friend, is that you can get into this space and you can get into this business because you have great networks of real estate companies and agents that are just there helping people find the best deals.
Yeah.
This
Eh,
is residential market alone in Canada, Tyler, is over $6 trillion. Think about the power of that. There's a lot of properties to go around for people, right?
well, and I was actually going to say this before, which is, you know, REC as well as you with helping investors find that the right plan and the right opportunities. The reason being is that there is truly enough pieces of the pie to go around, which is why I think it's so important to work with people that want to see you grow and not just want to see what you're doing, and that's different. That's very different. And to bring it back in regards to the current state of the market, two things that you said that I wrote down here. One, we have seen in the GTA over 20% year over year in rental increases. Certain markets like Hamilton, they're like 23 to 24%. Niagara, St. Catharines, Grimsby, they're over 20%. My condo in London got over 20% year over year in my specific condo that I own. So we have seen, because of the lack of buyers presence, a lot of people going into the renters market. And you said another thing, which is, that it's now more of a buyer's market, which it's good that you brought that up, because I actually had a conversation with an investor on Friday before I left. We have a program called the Real Estate Action Plan that, as you know about, and at the end of the conversation, they were asking me what I truly feel about the market. And what I said is that in this type of market right now, especially with it being a lot more expensive to get that money and a lot harder to qualify for a mortgage, you have to do your due diligence at least double to triple than what you've done over the last decade. You can't just bank on the passive appreciation, put your money in and then every single year growing 15%. That's unsustainable. And do I think that the values are going to go down? Personally, if you look at the next 10 years, I think it's going to go up about 5 to 7% a year, a more stable market. But one thing that I did talk to them about, which is right now is probably the best time as a buyer to feel the water and to actually put some offers together to create a deal. Over the last 10 years, helping buyers in the residential market, those duplexes, triplexes, condos, fourplexes, even multifamily opportunities, you can do all the research that you want before putting in an offer. Or this is over the last 10 years, right? You can have the proper plan for pricing approach. You can do a home inspection earlier. You can speak to your mortgage broker and say, hey, I'm thinking about putting an offer into this property. Am I good at this, this range of price? And you can get everything checked off until the day of the offer. The listing agent calls us or yourself, if you're representing yourself, and saying, hey, just so you know, I have 25 other offers on this property. Come in with your best foot forward. Everything else over the last 10 years essentially is you talk to the buyer or the investor and say, hey, we just have 25 offers. Our plan, if you really want to actually go and purchase this, throw this out the window, because what you need to do right now is close your eyes and throw a dart at the board and see if your price kind of sticks so you can negotiate. There was no negotiation. It was competing with other buyers who, we saw the increase in prices, right? And right now, we have buyers out there that are tying things up with home inspection conditions, negotiating price, a reduction in purchase price if we can close earlier. We have a lot of weight in our offers right now as buyers, and I think that's something that we are starting to see a bit change because of the last Bank of Canada announcement. I think the majority of investors who were holding off, they were waiting to find the ceiling of interest rates. So, we are starting to see some more activity happen, but we still do have, in certain micro markets, a lot of weight in our offers as buyers. So, I would say that if you wanted to find some cash flow positive opportunities, some duplexes and triplexes, there's some really good opportunities out there right now. You just have to create the deal. So
I think I
that's
want to
just,
I just want to build on that as well, Tyler, because here's some interesting things. What you're saying is bang on. It's absolutely correct, right? As a buyer, In today's market, it's okay to insult a seller. Really, it is. Put what you think you can afford, put what you think is going to happen,
Yeah.
because the financing is not easy anymore. In reality, you might want a high price, but you're not going to get that because the guy who's buying it just can't get it through the bank system. So he's got to be creative. You talked about multifamily. I'll share with you. We also do a lot of investing with other people along with us. We just closed a $1.73 million fiveplex in Toronto.
Hey,
Uh,
congrats.
Thank you. And I wanted to just share that with people because here's opportunities where you can find people that are actively working. And if you have money to put to work, best place is to put it to work in real estate right now, because every day your money, because of inflation, is getting less and less in value. Whatever you could
Hmm.
purchase today, like before, an average takeout meal, let's say, used to be what, $8, $9. Today you're looking at $15 to $20.
Yeah.
If you had that money in the bank, you now need to go borrow money to buy that meal because it's gone up 100%.
Yeah.
If your money is not growing outside in an investment, then you're in trouble in the sense that your money value is going down. So this property, I just wanted to share with you. We started the conversation at 2.5. Think about it. We ended up at 1.7. Now, obviously, this is a value add property, as we say, where we're going to go and update all of the building, the apartments. We're going to add 2 more units to it. But think about the power behind that, right? Because
You
first of
weren't seeing
all,
that. You weren't seeing that 10 years, like three
no,
years ago.
not only that, we weren't even looking at Toronto because it was
Yeah.
always such a high market. Toronto is one of the most important markets in the country for investors. And you usually have pension plans, hedge funds, REITs. They all chase multifamily in Toronto because they know that's where the value stays. So, in smaller size investors like ourselves, we typically stay out of the market because it's always negative cash flow. You're competing with some
Hmm.
big dollars, but the market shifted. This shift allowed us to come into the market and pick up deals. For the rest of this year, if you guys are interested in premium markets, now is your time. While the market is soft, now is your time to get into
Yep.
these locations. If you want to be involved and you're not into the ownership, find people like myself that can put your money to work, because you're getting, 10, 12, 13, 14% interest on your money. Some of it you share in the deal equity as well, right? So it just really depends on the structure, but you can really get involved from both sides of it, because this is how people and community can help each other grow. And I think that's a really important point to reinforce, because while we all talk about what we want to do as individual investors, the power comes from community, because now you can do deals that were literally reserved for the REITs and the pension funds and
Yeah.
things like that, right?
Like
Um,
large pieces to your foundation of your investment. Like these are ones that, if you structure it properly, that could be generational,
Of course. And the
right?
thing is, you come into that deal and you stay in that deal, and that deal can work forever because it's going to grow. Certain markets, you just know it's one of your best investments, right? Toronto is slated to grow even further. Along with that, as you know, Canada has announced the immigration policy they've come up with, which is most amount of immigrants in the next 10 years. They
Hmm.
need places to live. So you as an investor, you have a vested interest to provide nice, decent housing for people because they're coming. And you
Yep.
also have the local market that just is at a position where they're still clamoring and fighting to get these properties. So we definitely need to build out, and you can do it at all scales, from the infill lot, major renovations, additions, multifamilies. Um, the space is
Yeah.
quite interesting. And if you really love this space and you want to get involved, now is your time. But I will say one thing, Tyler, and this is something I wish we had 20 years ago: opportunities to work and to be educated as an investor in the real estate space. And, people like Keyspire, people like REC, people like Mitch, who now help provide that level of support. It's game changing for people because now they can test their ideas. They can
Yeah.
discuss it. They can learn about how do you do creative funding and financing. How do you get into a deal and get out of a deal? Like these are things that really it was kept as a secret, right? And so today, because of this, man, just get involved, jump into a
Yep.
community. You will save so much time. And the learning curve, like for me, I learned the hard way, right? Like the tribunals. And then I had many issues after that with the first property we have. But Tyler, you know what? And again, I share this so that you can see and the viewers here at REC Nation can understand. 20 years later, that thing is worth $1.2 million.
Yeah. Time
Any
in the market.
any RSP or saving plan could do that for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I but what I do know is I have with just one property changed my life and I have retirement if I so choose. So think about it. We're pushing money all over the place. We want to put money for the children's education.
Hmm.
RESP, invest here, invest there, and then what? I spoke to a young lady about a week ago. Her average income earning over $1 million portfolio that she had invested with different finance companies averaged 2.8%. Like, think about it, 2.8%.
Yeah.
I just
Eh,
told you I took a $200,000 investment and five X it, right?
eh,
5X. And the money didn't come from my pocket.
yeah. I was gonna say you didn't even. That's on the value of the property, not on the money that you put in.
Oh, well, if it's the money I put in, then we're like 25X because
Yeah.
we put 5% down.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, so one conversation I've been having a lot lately with investors that want to get in to the market, but as we have already touched on, affordability is a factor. It's a lot harder to get the money right now, as
Yes.
well as the rise in interest rates. Naturally, more funds are coming out of your pocket to withhold your or withstand your current properties to keep those afloat. With negative cash flow. The big discussion right now I'm having with investors is joint venture structureship. Finding two or three investors together to go and purchase duplex, triplex, multiplex, whatever it is they're looking to do, pre-construction. And the thing I like about it personally is because sure you have to give up X amount of percentage for the equity, but you also have less capital down and you share the expenses. How would you, if somebody were to speak with you about structuring a joint venture, because I know you do help investors kind of give that clarity there, how would you advise an investor to start planning to structure a joint venture? How, not even to find investors, like how would you actually get them to plan what it is that they're looking for in a joint venture partner?
You know, Tyler, this is the creative side of doing real estate. I would actually spend the time to get educated. You know,
Hmm.
join a community of people that can educate you. Because ultimately, here's the joint venture framework. The first thing you do is you do your letter of intent. So, what is that? That is where you literally sit down and you and your partner, or you the financial partner, the other person is the working partner. You lay out exactly what it is you're going to do. Who is responsible for what? Who is contributing what? What's the plan to exit? This is critical for you to start with joint venturing. And joint venturing, you typically share.
Yep.
So private lending is an interest payment that you get. Joint venturing, you're going to share in the equity, and if there is no equity, you share in that too, right? So
Yeah.
it's an assumed risk that you're coming together, but you're adding value to the deal. So typically, one is finance, one is working partner, and then after that, the lawyers get involved to draft out your contract. All right. Whose name goes on the property as well. All of that has to be discussed because you need to know how you're structuring. Typical scenario: financial partner goes on title for the mortgage. Working partner has the JV contract. They do the work, they optimize the property. Then you guys decide how you're going to exit. Whether it's a refinancing structure, and you keep the property, or you sell it outright, it's up to you guys.
Hmm.
But that's a typical forum for joint venturing. But like we can explain it top line here, but I think one of the most important things is understanding it and getting the lawyers involved so they can explain it, because you got to also take into consideration, what if you have a life-changing event, you got ill, you die,
Yeah.
something happens, like what are you doing in that scenario? So all of this has to be clearly identified and put to work. And
Uh,
one thing I want to add to that, Tyler, before you jump in here,
yeah.
a lot of people realize, like, they come from a career background, they come from jobs and professions, and they realize they want to get into real estate and make it a significant part of their life. Really and truly, what they're doing is they've become an entrepreneur and they are building a business. And I come from a business background. Like, I've worked many years in beverage alcohol with brands like Crown Royal, Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, Tomasi Wines. The fundamental thing with that is always planning. So when you
Hmm.
become an entrepreneur, you now are going to be doing your business plan. And a lot of people don't realize they need to spend that extra effort and time to
Yeah.
make a proper plan, right? I actually did a workshop back in January. The feedback was phenomenal because people now were able to see clearly how they're going to develop their business, what were the resources they identified that they needed. And the beauty is, it was based on their own personal goals, dreams, and desires. You pointed out there's so many strategies: multifamily, single family home, condominiums, short-term rentals. But we often try to find the leaders in the space and we chase after them. Well,
Yeah.
how more impactful can it be if we figure out what's inside of us, where we want to invest, how we're going to do that, and what is the revenue potential that we can pull out of this business plan that you're having, right? So I really like people to get focused in that area. I help them with that area as well because I truly believe that's where the power comes from. So planning is your most important critical piece, well worth the investment. Layered into that is then we can train into multifamily, which is a space
Yep.
I absolutely love. Short-term rental, we are doing that. We're building. We actually have a six-unit apartment building. We're building out in Peterborough because multifamily is not only acquisition from an existing building, you can build it as well, and
Hmm.
it's game changing because you're in new rules as well with that, where you could play with your rent rates every year.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was
So
built after 2018. The
that's right.
units. Yeah.
So this real estate in this market is still quite powerful. Choosing your market, that's a level of sort of investment in time and research that you have to do.
Yeah.
Pick the market that you really like because people have many different reasons. It's not only ROI. Sometimes it's just a passion thing or it's close to them,
Yeah.
whatever. You got to unpack it. But real estate as we know it today, my friend, is life changing. And I've been fortunate enough to work with hundreds of people and I've seen the change. And I know that where the gaps are and how to overcome those gaps. Because once you get into flow, my friend, sky's the limit. And you've only touched the surface with joint venturing. There's so many creative solutions and so many creative ways of pulling people together because of community. And when
Yeah.
I say community, I'm saying REC Nation and so many other small micro communities are being born every day.
There's
And
a ton of investment groups, and that's like. So the question I was going to ask you
yeah,
afterwards, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is you have to understand what your motivation is for the investment. You have to understand the types of asset classes that you're trying to find and to add to your portfolio, and this is before you find a JV partner. And I always would recommend also having a few different scenarios. And then I think one misconception that I hear from a lot is not misconception. Well, I find that sometimes people pigeonhole themselves in regards to this is exactly what I need in this joint venture. And you have to have some creativity. You have to work not just one scenario, but you have to have three or four, because when you're also speaking with a prospective joint venture partner, their ideas and what they're trying to get out of the joint venture might be different. And if you don't have the ability to be flexible to create the deal, it's going to be really hard to find that perfect pairing. You have to take action instead of staying in motion. And that's just something I see. Like, sometimes people think about being the working partner means that you don't put any capital down. But the reality is that if you do have some capital to deploy, it's going to be that much easier to actually go and find the right JV partner or to find the right opportunity, even if you can't get the mortgage in your name. So that's something.
I love that. Let's just park that for a second, because it's actually quite important to understand this. JVing is a white space. What do I mean by
Mhm.
that? There is no fixed rules, there's no fixed regulations. It's truly two people coming together, agreeing on a pathway in the future regarding real estate, and they're going to implement that. That's why you have so many varying scenarios that you just talked about. I want fifty
Yeah.
50. I want 60-40. I'm putting no money in, I'm doing all of the work, or whatever it is. JVing is finding a partner that you can work with over the long term. The
Yeah.
minute you have a disgruntlement, the minute you have some sort of deficiencies in the relationship, don't do it. You're going to be
No.
together 2, 3, 5 years easily, and you want that relationship to get stronger. So some people click and connect, and some people don't. So don't
And
be
and that's
afraid.
why you have
Yeah.
that JV agreement. That's why you have
That's
it.
why you have the JV agreement, 100%. But more importantly is an agreement or a contract is always put in place if something goes wrong.
Mhm.
When you're doing a contract or a relationship in good faith, that's where the strength is.
Yes.
So yeah, you and I put the JV agreement together. You now later on in the deal, Tyler says, "Oh no, Mitch, I feel like I've done so much on this financing side. You really have to give me 70%." Bring out a contract, right?
Yeah.
It means that the relationship was not solid, because you would have respected the fact that we're in this thing together, and we are just going to do 50-50 as we agreed to before.
Yeah.
So contracts as really not throwing the contract at you. And as I could appreciate, when you're buying a pre-construction condo, they give you like 50 pages to sign,
Yeah.
because they're locking you in. But relationship, joint venturing, when you find the right people and you understand what you're getting into, the contract is just a formal process, and not a I'll walk with my contract every day to tell you and remind
Yeah.
you. You
Oh,
know?
and
Yeah.
I think having like those few discussions beforehand, just to run through scenarios and what to expect, as well as
Critical.
expenses as well, is really important.
It's
It
critical.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why your intention, the first thing is your intention. Sit down, write it out. That document is what you give to the lawyers. Now they know what your
Yeah.
intentions are. Both of you, both parties.
And even there you can have a few scenarios as well. So
Yes,
it's
we
I'm
typically
happy
do.
we talked about that, because I did even last week I had, I don't even know, probably about 15 or 16 real estate action plan discussions with REC insiders, and a few of them were about joint ventures and how to structure those. So I'm gonna just send them this recording. In regards to markets, because you right now are pretty in tune to the multifamily sphere and what's going on in those markets, at least in the GTA. Are there a few micro markets that you're looking into as well, that you're seeing some potential opportunities?
Markets are quite interesting because it just depends on where you are. Now,
Hmm.
from a personal perspective, I love the Ontario market, and specifically Toronto, because before this, we're buying out in Chatham, so Oakville, Peterborough, like really outskirt areas. Now we have the chance to jump into the Toronto market. So we're looking at that, right? So the fiveplex, We're actually looking to raise capital to complete the renovations on that. There's an 8-unit apartment building that we've tied up in the Garden District in Toronto as well. That one is
Nice.
actually a limited partnership or share in equity. So that one we're sharing the equity in that one. Again, a very different structure, right? Because
Yeah.
that one, we if we are able to close it, we want to be able to buy and hold that. The idea is to keep that one because that type of location very difficult to get your hands on, and it cash flows. So something like that is absolutely worth taking care of. Now, there is a lot of movement right now. When I say movement, a lot of dollars being invested in the Alberta market, right? Because again, that market had a low growth rate, so there was really relatively nothing in decline. So people are looking at it from a stability point. The Ontario market, as you could appreciate, the GTA holds the greatest value, right?
Hmm.
And these are where you have to look at it. But when you look at places like Kingston, you look at Peterborough, there's opportunities up and coming there because the government, the city and the councillors there want increased properties. They want new doors for people to come and live.
Yeah.
Hamilton is quite a unique space. Hamilton is just positioned to grow exponentially because there's a tremendous amount of, I mean, you guys are there. There's a
Hmm.
tremendous amount of money coming into Hamilton. Myself with Judy Paré, we have a 8-unit building there that we're converting from an office to 8 condominiums.
Oh, nice.
So Hamilton is a great market. As you can see, a lot of investors are headed that way because there's a whole waterfront development, millions and if not billions of dollars just pouring into the city to develop it. The train, as you know, runs straight into there, so the commute to Toronto is just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
More and
And
more investors are coming.
they're improving their actual like their municipal transit infrastructure as well.
Yes, the LRT internally
Hmm.
is all happening. So when you get into that city now, your timing couldn't be any better because
Yeah.
there's tons of opportunities still. Lots of regentrification happening depending on where in Hamilton. Obviously, I always say it's good to have an important agent that knows that particular market if you're new to Hamilton, because you do need to know where you're putting that investment, because you also want to put it in a timing when you see regentrification, so that in the next 5 to 10 years, game changer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get
So
the growing pains as much if
that's
you
right.
target the right market. And one thing to note about Hamilton is that, and this is just more in the residential sphere. Those duplexes and triplexes, just where the majority of our insiders are looking, is what I've noticed, anyways. Is that because of the lack of buyers presence, we're seeing duplexes now sell for less than what we saw February 2022,
Right.
and even at a 6% interest rate, and you can get a little bit less if you go fixed right now. You're seeing $400 to $500 a month in cash flow on those duplexes. In February 2022, investors were buying there with negative cash flow, and the reason why, even at a higher interest rate, that actual mortgage amount that you're going to be paying, as well as the rise in rents, 20% year over year increase in rents, it is just making a perfect storm for those types of opportunities. That high rise development right now is selling, like, two bedrooms are selling in the sevens, eights, and those won't be ready for 5 years, but you can find a duplex in the sevens right now. So if you're looking to capitalize on today's market, it would be, I would look there for sure. And
Yes,
we are.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I mean, you go across St. Catharines, Niagara,
mhm,
like Canada is really positioned where low-lying markets are suddenly really growing significantly. And the numbers you're talking about is recession numbers. Like, think about this as an investor, like you're really in a good place in this market because it's pretty stable considering the fact that it's already declined. There's really no estimation as to it expected to go lower. Again, the government have kind of announced they don't want to be rapidly increasing rates again.
yeah,
But a little tip: keep an eye on the inflation rate. That'll tell you what the government most likely will do. and then you can plan accordingly. But
Yeah.
if you have the finances, if you have a group of friends, if you have a group of people or a network, you guys can come together. Now is the time to do it. Now you should really be buying property, try to get as much as possible. And if it has renters or money coming in, then you can hold on to it a little bit and acquire and then optimize later on. Now, if you're buying a deal that needs optimization, well, yes, you got to get all that going right away because carrying costs can be expensive.
Yeah,
Um,
those are the ones you have to have. You have to have due diligence on all, but especially ones where like rehab potential, ones that you're putting capital in and you'll have vacancy for a bit. I would recommend, and I'm sure you do as well, assemble your all-star team first. Don't buy and then try and get the right contractors, try and get the right service providers in place. Don't hire them for the job yet, but at least have a list of a few that are prepared to get the call when you do, secure an opportunity.
That's right. If you know that this is realistic, again, it comes back to your business plan. Like,
Yeah,
did you spend the time to make a plan? Do you know your gaps? Do you know what you need to fill? The resource analysis, right? I'm big on it because this is how we grow and we build our business. We have people that we help with this now, and they see the value in actually spending that quality time to refine your plan. But also, you need guidance. Like, build a
yeah.
plan is great. How do you even begin, right? So there's opportunities there for sure. Then, if you're strategic, if you're liking multifamily and you're not sure on what that looks like, well, get the training on it, right? Reach
Hmm.
out. I mean, we're happy to introduce you to other people. We're happy
Yeah.
to get you experience.
Shadow a multifamily
That's right.
investor. One
That's
like
right.
shadow somebody that has this portfolio. Treat it like you're trying to get into a new industry, and that's why it's perfect. You said about it's a business plan because
Go
learn
ahead.
how people do it. Learn the things to consider when you're actually screening prospective opportunities. Learn the day-to-day management of it, and the best way to do that is to shadow someone or work with somebody that's already done it.
I totally agree. Look, I have 5 people that are coming with me on April 1st and 2nd. And the focus here is we're doing multifamily training because they want to get into the space. They
Amazing.
have their general ideas, but they're not there yet, right? So what do? Well, learn it with somebody who's in it.
Yeah.
And then, layered on top of that is the underwriting, the support system. It's everything is there for you to be successful. But
Hmm.
you can't do it alone. Really and truly, you cannot go into any creative real estate space alone. It's near to impossible because there's too
Yeah.
many things that are complicated that you don't understand how to overcome or how to structure it. You can put yourself in financial trouble, and that's what we don't want.
Yeah.
So spend the time and understand what it is you need, understand what you have to get or who you need to reach out to and have lined up saying, okay, you have a great reputation as a contractor for this area. I'm looking to buy in the next 2 months. Are you going to be available? Can we work together? Can I go see some of the work you've done? Can I talk to maybe people you've worked with in the past? Let me just hear what experience they have, right?
Yeah.
These are due diligences that you need to do. And
And it's going to take you a while to find these people. It really is.
it
But
does. It
be
does.
okay with it. Be okay
That's
because
right.
you'd rather have all your ducks in a row now than
Yeah.
when you tie up a property and now you're scrambling to find the right people, and either you hire contractors that you know aren't who they say they are, or the work that they actually produce is not what you're looking to do, or you find the right people but then they're delayed by 3 months, so it's just extra time lost when it comes to revenue and having that tenant in.
That's right. And this is where you're scrambling for your business versus planning your business.
Hmm. I
Game
love
changer.
that. I actually love that. I love that you brought that up. It's so true.
It
So
is. You want
Mitch,
success? It's there for you.
it's there. And Mitch, I could talk to you for hours here. This has been great because we haven't really even scratched on your current portfolio a bit in pieces, but like some of the challenges that you'd recommend. So we definitely have to have you on again. But before I do let you go and enjoy your Sunday. um,
Yeah.
I do have a few questions, and first and foremost, you touched on it a bit, but let's just kind of go over it again. How is it that you do help investors?
How is it I help investors? Well, if you're part of, as you know, the Keyspire community, I'm a coach with Keyspire. So in that program, if you're assigned to me, I will work with you there. But with my SV investment company, I also do education and training and more so on the consulting side. So if you
Hmm.
want to develop your business plan, that's where I come in. I can help you with that. If you want to do consulting on specific strategies, I can help you with that. And if you want to do training in either multifamily or how to design and put together a prospectus and to make that pitch, that's another area that we focus on as well. So it's very selective, not necessarily on SV investment. It's all about business consulting and specific development opportunities there. Coaching, if you're part of the Keyspire coaching program, you'll be automatically assigned and everything that works by itself.
Yeah, they
Um,
have a great ecosystem for sure.
they do, they absolutely
Yeah.
do. So that to me, that program that they have is second to none. It really does filter people to let them identify that they either love real estate or they don't.
Yeah.
And this again is an investment for you to decide, right? And if you do, then I kind of look at you from after that. If you really want to build a business, because my background is business, my 15 years, 20 years of just doing that as a director for the Ontario market with beverage alcohol, which is all about business planning, right?
Yeah.
It's a strong point I have, and I love seeing people when they get planned, they become highly successful, and they can add significant income to their portfolio. You can literally add six figures and more, depending on where you want to take the business to. Right? If you're looking to just do a house or two, then that's fine. You can do that on your own. But if
Hmm.
you really want to move with momentum, you really want to see how you can develop yourself and know what you're going to do in 12 months or 24 months. That's where I love helping people, because I'm seeing people, attain six figures, seven figures sometimes. And it's just mind blowing how people can move with momentum when they have clarity. They're no longer stuck and they know exactly what direction they're aiming for. And the beauty is they also know what are the gaps they need to fill, and is it more education, is it more resourcing, is it different people? It's brilliant that way.
And I take it the first conversation you have with investors is more of a brain dump, anyways. Just
Yeah, yeah, it's
let's
a
get
discovery
let's
call.
get
Yeah,
everything on paper.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about discovery calls to just figure out, well, is this program really right for you or not, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
totally.
that's to go. And Nick, if you don't mind putting that link in again, sv-investments.com, correct?
Correct.
Other than that, everybody, to connect with Mitch, you have to subscribe to his podcast, the Pineapple Podcast. What platforms is it on? Is it on all of them?
It's on YouTube right now. Spotify has some, but we're just getting that revised as well. So it'll be across all of them in the next future. Right now,
Uh,
check us out in YouTube.
Amazing. Have a watch and a listen to Mitch. I'm sure everyone here who's listened live or on the recording has gotten value from our very fluid discussion. It kind of went everywhere, which I love. Those are my favorite conversations.
100%. I think there's tremendous value in people understanding the broad dynamics of real estate. It's not just a one track journey. You have
Yeah,
so much opportunities that you really need to nail it down so that you can flow into it much faster and better.
yeah, and you're right. And for everybody who is catching the live, I hope you enjoy your Sunday. Mitch, I'm on vacation after this. That's how I started off this conversation. I'm
Nice.
sure you heard that. I cannot wait. The kids, my wife and I, we're having a staycation, so that's where I'm gonna go after this. I'm just gonna go home, put my feet up, and no, really, I'm not gonna be able to put my feet up. I got two, I got a 2.5-year-old and a 1 year old, so they're just gonna be running around. So
Beautiful.
I'm just gonna be playing some games. So I'm looking forward to that.
Amazing. That sounds like a plan, my friend. Wonderful.
Um,
Well,
Everybody, REC Nation, thank you so much for joining us. And Mitch, do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to do? Thanks for joining us, Mitch, as well.
you know what? I just want to say thank you very much, guys, for what you do. Like I say, I've my platform started again with you all helping me get that podcast up and running. I
Yeah,
love the fact of giving back, but really and truly, real estate, it's all about building your future together. There's multiple ways to build wealth. Ours is real estate. We help people, we do more. I love giving back. I would love to actually be able to help many people achieve their financial freedom through real estate, either through investing or through training and development. So
Yeah.
it's all about staying together, being together, and working together so that we can build wealth together.
Uh, everyone enjoy your Sunday. And Mitch, thanks again. You were awesome.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.